The Giants are in fact not back. Welcome to the Everything New York Giants podcast with New York Giants fangirl. I'm your host, Adrianna. In today's episode, I'm recapping the Giants' loss to the Dallas Cowboys 20-15. I walked out of that game because I was there, and I walked out of it feeling a mix of emotions. And I think I can speak for a lot of us where I say that we feel a lot of things at once. There's frustration, there's anger, there's disappointment, there's depression, sadness, defeat. The thing that I'm finding the most common, I think, when talking with other fans after that game is, this is so pathetic. At least we didn't get blown out. At least we didn't get blown out. That is what part of the consensus among Giants fans after losing by 5 points to the Cowboys is. And I think it kind of just sums up what it's like to be a Giants fan as of late. We are the tiniest bit satisfied because we didn't get blown out by Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys, who coming into this game were the last in the NFL in run defense. They couldn't run the ball successfully either. And they were 1-2, just like the Giants. And we couldn't score a touchdown after scoring 3 touchdowns against the Commanders last week. Three touchdowns against the Commanders, 3 touchdowns against the Browns. And this week, 5 field goals. And you know, it was funny, we're sitting around. I was with my husband, my uncle, 2 of my brothers, my cousin and her husband, and then another one of my cousins. Great crew. Had a great time in D3. Justin Pugh came over to join us with LPG. Just the tailgate, exceptional. Tequila shots were fun. Food was delicious. Great crew. Great vibes. The vibes at Metlife were high. There were an obnoxiously amount of Dallas fans, like there always are. And you know what really pisses me off about Dallas fans? Aside from the fact that they are fake as hell. That's fake fans is what I mean. The Yankees clinched the AL East, and the Giants put it up on the board, and we get excited. And I'm seeing these loser-ass Cowboy fans cheering for the Yankees. And I hate that, and I hate them, because you are not a real fan. You are what we call a bandwagon fan. So why don't you just take off your Micah Parsons jersey and go root for the Chiefs while you're at it? Because none of them live there. One guy in front of us was from Pennsylvania. And he's a Cowboys fan. I have no tolerance for the stupidity and the bandwagonish of Cowboy fans, which is one of the reasons why I hate them, aside from the fact that they are a division rival. And they're not even that good this year. We couldn't beat them. It's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating. If I have to see the freaking stat one more time that the Giants haven't won a game against Dallas in 4 years, and Dak Prescott, since he's been with the Cowboys since 2016, the Giants can't win. Yeah, we know. You don't think we know, us Giants fans? We've suffered through this twice a year, every year for 8 years. You don't think we don't know? Thanks for the reminder. And when we finally came this close, we couldn't do it for a multitude of reasons. Because Dable, when he won Coach of the Year, was praised for being aggressive, taking the shots. And now, when it's 4th and 3 in the red zone, you're not going for a touchdown in the third quarter. When not once during the entire game, they had a lead for approximately 5 minutes in the first quarter. They were up 3-0. And we all know how that went. Ran right down the field and scored a touchdown. I don't understand what Dable is doing. And I'm not in the crew that's like, fire Dable, it's going to solve all our problems. Because I genuinely don't think that it's going to solve all of our problems, because there are a lot of problems with this team. My problem with him is the decision making. Again, it's week in and week out. Whether it's about the kicker, whether it's about not going for it on fourth down, whether it's about keeping your $40 million quarterback in the game when you're down by 40 points and it's raining in the fourth quarter, it's just the decision making. And it drives me up a wall because there's no consistency to it. 2022, we have a less talented team and we make the playoffs because Dable is more aggressive. And up until 2 weeks ago, a single team has not won a game based on field goals alone when the other team scored touchdowns. So why do you think, Dable, that the Giants of all teams in the NFL are going to beat Dallas with field goals alone? It's a question that I would really like an answer to, because it doesn't make any sense. Where is the aggressiveness? Yes, they went for it on a couple fourth downs, and guess what? They got it majority of the time. They got the fourth down conversion. Doesn't that give you a little bit of faith in your team? They were moving the ball quite well on offense. Was it amazing? No. The penalties were out of control. And do not get me started on the bad penalty that was on Bellinger that wasn't actually on Bellinger, because the refs are blind and paid off by Jerry Jones because he's embarrassed that they're losing to the Giants. I just don't get it. That is not a game. You're literally coaching for your job at this point. Whether or not I agree with it. I'm sure there is at least 50-50 chance at this point that he could be coaching for his job. And you're coaching for your players, who Dexter Lawrence is probably going to drive himself off a bridge if this continues. And Andrew Thomas, who've been around for a long time and who are sick of losing. And they're the two best players on this team. And you have no faith in your offense to go for it on 4th and 3 at the goal line. I can't understand. They did it against the Commanders, and I understand the Commanders' defense sucks. I really understand that. But they had success with the Browns, and they were moving the ball down the field without a run game and with missed deep throws and with drops, and they were still moving the ball down the field. I just, for the life of me, cannot understand it, and it's so infuriating. When you lose the game by 5 points. By 5 fucking points. Let's go through some stats, shall we? Daniel Jones was 29 for 40 for 281 passing yards. He was sacked once for 4 yards, so the stat line ends up being 277 passing yards with a QBR of 59.8. Let's talk about Jones. Jones has been efficient the last few games outside of week 1, which the fact that he's actually playing decently compared to what we saw week 1 is a little shocking, to be honest. I thought after week 1, I'm like, he's done. I don't actually think that he's going to make it to where we are at right now, week 4, because of that. So good for him for turning it around. However, the ball placement, the lack of consistency is so frustrating. And this is what it always is with Jones, right? This is always the complaint, is he can throw a beautiful ball and then the next one, it's at the receiver's feet. And you're just I don't expect every ball to be perfect. I don't expect any quarterback to throw every single ball perfectly. It's literally impossible. I don't care if you're Patrick Mahomes, you still make mistakes, okay? I don't have wildly high expectations for him. My expectations for him are to maybe hit on 50% of the deep balls. I saw a stat today that said on passes over 20 yards so far this season, he is 2 for 13, I think. It's either 2 for 13 or 2 for 17. Either way, 2? Even if it's 2 out of 10, that's horrible. the necks like it's a result of the neck thing or the ACL or what, but he just cannot get the accuracy right. And it's infuriating when you've got Malik Neighbors, who's wide open. You've got Darius Slayton, who's wide open. Give him the opportunity to catch the ball. I know he doesn't always catch the ball, but give him the chance. When he's actually wide open, maybe he'll make the play. Let's talk about our rushing attempt, because like I said, Dallas, one of the worst run defenses in the league. And the Giants, 24 carries for 26 yards. Devin Singletary, 14 carries for 24 yards. And I think that we got a gift with the fact that they didn't call that a fumble. I was like, oh my God, did we actually get a call go our way? Because that never happens. I don't know what's going on with him, and I said this to someone earlier today. It feels like the players on this team are regressing. When Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton are dropping the ball, last year, drops happen. Like I said, they don't have to make every play. Malik Neighbors, I don't even care. I understand he's dropped a couple big balls, but he's also been the only playmaker on this team. He had 115 yards yesterday. He's like the only person, so I'm not going to complain about him. But everyone else, Theo had a drop. I mean, yesterday he caught the one target that came his way, but the people are regressing. Wide receivers are dropping the ball. Singletary almost has 3 fumbles in 3 games, which is insane. Then you have Jones, who all of a sudden can't throw the deep ball, which he used to be able to, which makes me feel like maybe it's some sort of injury thing. Then you've got the defense, who's like all over the place. Tay Banks is worse now than he was last year, and I understand he's going against good wide receivers, but you're in year 2, man. You're supposed to be getting better, not worse. It's so mind-boggling to me. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening, but the fact that I feel like players are getting worse is very scary. Very scary overall. I don't like it, and it should be a concern. And I mean, maybe it's just early on in the season and they're just not playing amazing football, and that's part of it. But when you see what they did in the first half of the Browns game, and the offense is meshing and they're moving the ball down the field really well, and Jones was still missing the deep balls, but outside of that, they were able to score touchdowns, which is great. And then you see what they do this week, and it's just like, I can't make any sense of it. Wide receiver core, 29 for 281. Neighbors obviously led the charge, 15 targets, 12 receptions for 115. Wan'Dale was right behind him. Out of 14 targets, he caught 11 for 71 yards. Slayton, out of 5 targets, 3 for 56. Tyrone, Devin Singletary, Theo Johnson, and Jalen Hyatt all had 1. And, oh God. That last play of the game. The last play. Also, Daboll. Why do we have no timeouts left with 3.5 minutes left on the clock in the 4th quarter? What are you doing? We were going to get the ball back. That was another thing. Also screaming about, driving me absolutely up a wall. Insane. Clock management. Not his strength. I get it. But, 3.5 minutes left? No timeouts left. Okay. Great. Just absolutely great. Jalen Hyatt had the opportunity to be the hero of this Giants team and to come out and say, I told you so, to everyone. Not necessarily to the fans, because we've all been begging to see more of him. But that primetime opportunity, thought it was a pretty good ball. It was Jones's best ball, best deep ball of the night. It was catchable. And he can't make a play. Just the worst part about all of this is that we have a good offensive line. It's good. It's finally good. The run blocking, has been okay. I think they've been more hit and miss. The pass blocking, Jones has had more time than he's ever had in his whole career. He's got so much time. And I think that's what makes it worse with the lack of success with the deep ball is you finally have time back there to get the timing right, to get the speed on the ball, to release it at the right time, to get it to your guy who's open, and he can't do it. Very frustrating. He was only sacked once, guys. He was only sacked once, and Micah Parsons was on the field for the bulk of the game. Now, he ended up getting carted off towards the end. They were losing a couple guys on defense left and right, which makes it even more infuriating that the Cowboys were losing players, and we still couldn't score a touchdown. I can't. Okay, speaking of the defense, let's move on. One sack, 5 tackles for loss, 3 pass deflections, and 3 quarterback hits. 3 quarterback hits. Now, I know that Dak Prescott is good on the run. He gets out of the pocket quickly, moves fast. There was literally no pressure on him at all. At all. And I don't know what the percentage of Bowen blitzing was. I honestly don't even know if that would have made a difference at this point. Deshaun Watson is obviously way worse of a quarterback than Dak Prescott is, but you couldn't get a little bit of pressure? Just a little bit? Mr. Primetime Kayvon, I get it. You got your sack. It's week 4. Get it together. Cordell Flott. This is my problem with Cordell Flott, and it's the problem with a lot of players on this team, is again, the lack of consistency. He made a couple beautiful pass deflections. They were a little close to being called for holding. I was about to call him Darnay Holmes, but thank God they weren't. And then he goes and just makes horrible mistakes the next one. Can't tackle for the life of him. Too slow to keep up with anyone. I'm like, it's just gets a DPI or got a couple penalties. I'm like, there's no consistency ever. And that is really, really hard to watch. I don't really know what else I have to say about the defense. I mean, like I said, the 1 sack was Kayvon. The tackles for loss were also Kayvon, Burns, and McLeod, who looked okay out there his first game back. Okereke had a pass deflection. Cordell Flott had 2. And then the quarterback hits were Tibbs, Burns, and Dexter Lawrence. I don't really know what else to say on the defense. Other than like everyone needs to pick it up, maybe outside of Dexter, but I was really hoping for a turnover last night. I really was. And defense couldn't do it. And they had a lot of time on the field out there, and they couldn't do it. No fumbles, no interceptions, nothing. Was really hoping for that. We are now 4 weeks. That's not true. They did have turnovers last week. But this would have been the game, to get a good one. Let's talk about special teams, because Eric Gray, he didn't fumble. So, great job, Eric. What is he doing back there? I really don't know how many times I have to talk about this. I don't really think it's ever going to stop at this point, and that really, really just infuriates me, and it goes back to Dable, again, with the decision-making. What are you doing? You have Smith-Marset, whatever, they put Tyrone Tracy back there, he fumbled it, thank God it was recovered by Manhurts, but you signed a returner to do that. Can you just use him every time until Gunner's back? Which the good news is it's week 4. So maybe, if we're lucky, Gunner will be back next week. Maybe. Don't know how lucky we'll get with that one. Last up, let's talk about Greg Joseph, because he went 5 for 5 on the field goals, which honestly, great job to him, because was a little worried about that, obviously, based on how last week went. So, he did a great job. I would have liked to see him less field goals and maybe just have them be point attempts, but beggars can't be choosers, So just take the fact that he scored all of our points, all 15 of our points, and the longest one was 52 yards. So we have a kicker. Isn't that great? It's great news. Because Graham Gano, is not going to be back for a little while. And I have to be honest, guys, I am not feeling great about Graham Gano. Let's quickly touch on injuries while we're talking about that. So Gunner was put on IR. He should be eligible to return by week 5. So we'll see if he's back. Gano has a few more weeks. I feel like he's not the same after last year, and I don't, maybe it's just the injury thing, and once he's 100%, it's going to be different, but he's 37, he's getting up there, and I don't know, that just makes me a little nervous. Lastly, let's talk about Malik Neighbors, who left the game at the very end with a concussion. Is in concussion protocol, as Dable said today, and the good news is that he's got 9 days to recover, since our game is not until, the next game is not until Sunday. So that's good news. He should be cleared, good to go by then. Let's all keep our fingers crossed that he is, because we have no chance, absolutely no chance of beating Seattle if he's not on the field. So, that's it. That's it. I'll be back next week. We'll talk about, some updates. It's the only good news about this game, I think, is that it sounds like that was the only injury. So, to our best player, but, luckily it wasn't a broken leg or something, because I was a little bit worried when he was down, and as he was coming off the field, I saw him walk towards the locker room. He had like 3 guys around him, and at first it looked like they were helping him walk, and I wasn't sure if he was limping or it was a leg thing. So luckily it is not, although concussions are not to be messed with. He should take all the time that he needs, but I'm just glad it's a little bit longer of a week, because it will give him time, and according to Dable, he's in good spirits. So that's where we're at. We were this close to finally beating Dallas, and because of a lot of things that are wrong with this team, they couldn't. I would say at this point, the one thing that I really want to see them do is bring in a corner, because I am very concerned about Banks and Fly McLeod, which, what else is new? But we really missed Adoree Jackson and Drew Phillips, and I feel like even if one of those guys were playing, preferably Phillips, maybe it would have been a little bit different, but it is what it is. Can't do anything about the injuries, and hopefully, one, if not both of those guys are back next Sunday. Let's keep our fingers crossed. But you guys enjoy your weekend. Take some time off from the Giants. I have not even been able to stomach some of the podcasts, because I'm like, I just don't even want to relive this. So my brother's getting married this weekend, so I have something to look forward to, and I can step away from all of this Giants bullshit for a couple days. So you guys enjoy, have a great weekend, and I'll be back next week talking more Giants. Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast platform, review, share with a friend, and as always, let's go Giants.